Well, you can't play just two good innings of baseball and expect to walk away with many victories at the major league level. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. Mariners lose this one today 5-4 to the Toronto Blue Jays. They fall to 49 and 42 on the season. They do maintain a two-game lead in the AL West thanks to the Houston Astros falling to the Minnesota Twins today. So the Mariners' magic number is reduced by one. We will always look for silver linings on this show. Hope you're all having a great Saturday. Before I go any further, do me a favor, smash the like button, hit subscribe if you're new or lurking, and comment your thoughts on the game down below. Kind of the same old from the Mariners a little bit. It's going to be a lot of the same talking points. Inconsistencies abound. Poor offense outside of the last couple innings. But again, you can't go 7 innings not putting any runners on base and then expect to win the game. You've got to at least put something on the board. Even if they would have put 1 or 2 runs on the board through the first 7 innings, they probably win that baseball game. Pitching wasn't great today as a whole, but again, we talk about all the time. The pitching shouldn't have to be perfect every single night. There's got to be some nights where the pitching can be mediocre and you can still find a way to win a baseball game. The last 2 days the Mariners have shown a little bit more offensively. 4th of July, they put up 7 runs. Again, a lot of it late, but they got to 7, and beggars can't be choosers. I'll take 7 runs. They got the job done. Yesterday wasn't good, but I talked about the 2 steps. You got to get runners on base. You got to bring them home. Yesterday, they at least did step 1. They had some base runners. Thought they had some good at-bats against Gosman, just couldn't quite finish the job, essentially. But ended up being enough because your pitching was so dominant. Luis Castillo was outstanding. Voth, Stanek, and Munoz were all great in the bullpen as well. So you ended up being able to get the victory. Today, your pitching was, I think, fine. We'll talk about a couple of the tough performances. But I thought Emerson Hancock actually threw the ball pretty well. Would have been nice if he could have gotten through 5 innings. I think that would have helped. But I thought his changeup had some swing and miss to it. Thought he located the fastball pretty well. He gave you 4 innings, 2 earned runs. Some of the hits he gave up I thought were kind of BABIP bloop singles. Not trying to complain. I would love for the Mariners to get some BABIP bloop singles. That would help them out tremendously. I thought for the most part Hancock threw the ball pretty well. And as a spot starter, what did he do? He gave you a chance to win this baseball game. He didn't get blown out of the water and eliminate you in the first 2 innings. They had a chance to win this. He was good enough to win that game. Now, you didn't go 5 innings, couldn't get the win, but you know what I mean. The only relievers I thought struggled. Thornton didn't look quite as good. And then Bauman struggled a bit as well. Defense didn't help him out either with the error. But in general, those 2 guys I didn't think looked their best. Thought Colin Snyder threw the ball well. He's actually been really solid since he's come back up. And I think he's going to stick. He's kind of been up and down a few times this year. But I thought Snyder really threw the ball well. Saw Sato look good. And Bizzardo threw the ball well. He's actually thrown the ball pretty well since that Texas debacle that almost cost him that game against the Rangers. I'm not going to get too much on the Bizzardo hype train because every time I do, he lets me down again. But he's looked pretty good since then. Injury news, Julio Rodriguez was not scratched, but came out of the game after the first inning with a quad injury. I thought maybe it was the knee because he fouled the ball off his knee yesterday. So I wasn't too worried at first. I was thinking probably just a bruise that swelled up a little bit. But the quad injury makes me a little nervous. I guess he said he thinks he's fine, but players always say they think they're fine. So disappointing news. Listen, we can get on Julio all we want, and he has not been the player we expect him to be this year. But he swung the bat better the last few games, and he's still better than whatever is going to be replacing him in center field, or at least, whatever's taking someone else's spot that's going to replace Julio. He is still one of your best 9, and now he is likely going to miss a handful of games, you would assume. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But some tough news out of the gate for this game. It also reduces your bench by 1, which makes it tough too. And we'll talk a little bit how that may have had some impact later on in the game. But I thought Emerson Hancock was solid. I thought it was actually one of his better starts where his stuff actually looked legitimate today. Again, would have liked to go 5. Pitch count got up there a little bit, especially in that first inning. Did a nice job wiggling off the hook a bit in that first inning. Gave you a chance to win the game. And that's all I ask when a spot starter is going. I don't care how it looks. I said, now, I hold guys like Hancock to higher standards than a Tommy Malone because Hancock is a legitimate prospect. Malone's just, a number 8, number 9 starter. But, when these guys are coming up, I don't really care if it looks pretty or not. Give me a chance to win the game. And he did. The offense for 7 innings was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. That's why I said I actually think, despite scoring 4 runs today, I actually thought they were worse than yesterday. That's, not all runs are created equal. And that 8th inning was great. Well, listen, I'm not going to complain about the Mariners having a 3-run inning, but we'll talk about some of the things in that 8th inning. But there was just another, I think it's Yariel Rodriguez, if I'm saying that correct with the first name. And I'm not trying to be, I never try to be insulting to, other teams, and other starting pitchers. These are all guys at the major league level. These are all guys that are in the top 0.0001% of major league baseball players across the world to be at this level. But it's another mediocre back-end starter that just dominated the Seattle Mariners. And just, you got to do something. And again, broken record, not asking for 12 runs through 3 1/3, but 2. Again, imagine they would have had 2. Now, we don't know how the rest of the game would have played out and how those late innings would have played out, but maybe, 2 and, 1, and the game's tied, potentially. So just so frustrating. So frustrating to see a back-end star just continue to dominate this team. A star that the Mariners should be able to do something against. And it's funny, I saw someone on Twitter the other day, I don't know who it was, someone in Seattle sports, was saying that, just throw any starter out there and the Mariners will just swing at everything. It's actually not the case. The Mariners are actually pretty good at not chasing pitches. The issue is the Mariners are missing so many middle pitches. Yes, they'll chase it with 2 strikes and they strike out a ton, but the issue is so many middle pitches that they're swinging through or fouling off that they're not making good contact with, and it was more of the same today. Yeah, with 2 strikes, they'll expand. Guess what? Every hitter in baseball is the same way there when you get 2 strikes on them. That's why it's nice to be ahead in a count as a pitcher, because you can get guys to chase more. So I don't know if the issue is necessarily their 2-strike hitting. I actually don't think their numbers with 2 strikes are, that off from the rest of the league. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember hearing that their 2-strike hitting is actually okay. It's what they're doing before in the count. They're missing so many hittable pitches. They missed them yesterday. They at least were able to get some walks, get some base runners. Today, without Luis Castillo dominating on the mound, you couldn't survive on 1 or 2 runs or what they were doing offensively, at least again through the first 7 innings. They're missing too many pitches in the zone, or they're watching too many pitches. The irony of that comment, the person said, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, so I'm not naming names. I actually don't remember who it was. It's not that the Mariners swing too much. I would actually make a case they swing too little sometimes and let too many hittable pitches go by. They're either taking them, or swinging through them, or fouling them back. You've got to start doing damage with middle pitches. I'm not an expert. I'm not a hitting coach. Never have been, never will be. But it seems like a pretty big problem for this team. So I don't think it's that they just swing at everything. They don't. They actually have a pretty decent walk rate. The issue is they miss hittable pitches. And, and again, against a starter that's just, is okay. But if you look at the numbers coming in, not that much different than Emerson Hancock on the mound. If the Mariners faced Emerson Hancock, I would expect them to get a few runs. It's one thing when Grayson Rodriguez owns you. Still frustrating not get a run or 2. But you can't let Rodriguez and pitchers like that dominate you. And now it sets up, you've got a really tough matchup tomorrow with Jose Barrios on the mound, who is a good pitcher. So it just kind of compounds itself and makes it tougher as you go along. Now, the 8th inning was pretty good. Let's talk about the 8th inning a little bit, because there was some decision-making there that we're going to talk about. Mariners are down 5-0. Again, I thought for the most part, Hancock was fine. I thought the bullpen was some good spots, some bad. They needed it a lot today with Hancock only going 4+. So anytime you got to go to 5 different relievers, they're not probably all going to be on their game. Someone in that group is going to struggle. But anyways, Mariners down 5-0. Mitch Garver leadoff single. Dom Canzone single behind him, 1st and 3rd. Mitch Haniger, 3-run home run. As soon as I make a tweet saying it's time to let go of Mitch and just put him on the coaching staff, comes back with a 3-run home run. Absolutely love it. I want to see more of that. I would love nothing more than to see Mitch Haniger return to Mitch Haniger of 2018, 2019. I will also say that one at-bat does not change my opinion on a player. Mitch Haniger's numbers this year are still pretty atrocious, and he's still not adding a ton of value. If he can run into a few home runs, that'll help. That'll make his value a little bit better. So I love it, absolutely. Like if Mitch can do it, then fine. Keep hitting home runs. And it's not like there's a lot of other guys performing either. So I get it. But that doesn't change my opinion on a guy. But good to see. Dylan Moore falls up with a little bloop check swing base hit. So the Mariners do get their own little BABIP single, courtesy of Dylan Moore. He moves to second on a wild pitch with nobody out. So a couple issues here. One, he ends up stranded at second. So again, the Mariners just not finding ways to manufacture a run. Listen, you guys know I'm not big on like, oh, you got to bunt, you got to do this, you got to do that. I want hits, I want guys to be driven in. But man, this team could be a little bit situationally better. Move Dylan Moore over. Get him home. 5-4, Luke Raley hits the home run in the ninth. Now again, we don't know how Chad Green would have pitched to Luke Raley. He may have pitched him a little bit differently in a 5-4 game versus a 5-3 game. So it's not guaranteed the game would have gotten tied. But it certainly would have helped the cause for sure going into that ninth inning. So anyways, Dylan Moore gets the hit. He's on second base with nobody out. So not only does the bottom of the order set up the top of the order perfectly to make a rally here, you get three absolutely atrocious at-bats from the top of the order. J.P. Crawford with a terrible at-bat against Little. Jorge Polanco, who we are going to talk about, had a terrible at-bat. And Cal Raleigh has a terrible at-bat. I mean, if your bottom of the order is setting up the top of the order, those are supposed to be your guys. Those are the guys that are supposed to be able to drive them in. And I'm not even asking for, again, I'm just asking for getting Dylan Moore home. Truthfully, we should be allowed to ask for a little bit more. It's like even when the Mariners get 3 runs in an inning, there's still something wrong with it in the inning. It still wasn't a great inning. Now, listen, had it been 0-0 and they gotten 3, we would have been fine with it. But, down 5-0, it changes it a little bit. The inning as a whole was fine, getting 3 runs. You do that every inning, 27 runs, you'll be fine. But it was, again, just some of the process. Jorge Polanco pinch hits for Josh. JP strikes out. Jorge Polanco pinch hits with Dylan Moore at second for Josh Rojas. Let me be clear. Pinch hitting for Josh Rojas is absolutely fine. Rojas has been atrocious against lefties. And I know, and I'm with a lot of you that are done with the platooning and the splits and all that stuff. I get it. I do think there is a little bit too much with that. And sometimes you just got to go with a hot hand. Sometimes you just got to say Luke Raley is a better hitter right now than Dylan Moore or whatever, in a certain situation. We're going with the hot hand regardless of the matchup advantage there. But Rojas is like WRC plus versus lefties this year is like 2. He's been really bad against them. And it's not just the numbers. He looks awful against lefties. I have 0 issue pinch hitting for Josh Rojas in that situation. What I do have a problem with is pinch hitting someone that has been worse than Josh Rojas in that situation in Jorge Polanco. Now, Polanco's WRC plus against lefties is probably better, but he just looks so lost. And that was maybe, and this is saying a lot, because the Mariners had a lot of atrocious at-bats this season. But that at-bat by Polanco might have been the worst at-bat of the season. Recency bias, obviously, just watched it, so it's sticking in my mind a little bit more. But that at-bat alone was worthy of a DFA. When you factor in Polanco's numbers, obviously, if he was putting up MVP numbers, I wouldn't be advocating for a DFA. But he didn't see a single strike, not one pitch, and not just, oh, they were close and they just missed off the edge. I think one pitch in that at-bat might have been close to a strike. The rest were not even remotely close. Jorge Polanco could have walked up to the plate without a bat and reached base and put up a better at-bat than he did. He could have walked up there with his hands like this. I don't know if it's legal to bat without a bat. And obviously I'm joking because if he didn't have a bat, you'd obviously just toss him 20 mile per hour down the middle and get him out. But you know the joke I'm trying to make. That's how bad the at-bat was. The bat was worse for him than just standing there. What an atrocious at-bat from Jorge Polanco. And listen, I do think the bench got screwed a little bit with Julio being hurt because then Ty France was supposed to have the day off. He comes in. This could sound crazy. I actually wouldn't have minded if Ty had the day off. I wouldn't have minded Ty France hitting for Rojas there. I wouldn't have. And I've been critical of Ty France, but I think he's a better hitter against lefties than Josh Rojas is. Have no problem there. And while Ty hasn't been great, he's at least been competent. Again, not good. I'm not, please don't come out, oh, Jay's defending Ty. No, Ty has been bad. But he's at least shown he's somewhat of a major league hitter. Polanco looks broken. The guy looks absolutely lost. I think I might have been able to give a better at-bat in that situation. I just wouldn't have swung and I would have reached base. Although, again, you could just throw me 30 mile per hour down the middle and I would have gotten out. Why not Victor Robles there? Listen, do I think Victor Robles is a great hitter? No, I don't. I think he's overperformed a little bit. But again, what did I just say a couple minutes ago? Sometimes you just got to go with the hot hand and look at the results. And Victor Robles has swung the bat pretty well against lefties for the Seattle Mariners this year. Why not give him a shot in that at bat? Why not? What do you have to lose? Polanco has been just so bad. Enough where if he's DFA'd tomorrow, and I've defended it, I've sat here and said, I get what they're trying to do. I get them trying to get something out of Polanco. I 100% understand it. I do. He's been a really good hitter in his career. I have no idea why he can't hit a fastball anymore. But whatever has happened has not only been that he can't hit these pitches anymore, it also looks like he's just so in his head. And nothing is going right for him. If you're going to give him at-bats, give him low leverage at-bats to try to get something going. I know you can't really do that with hitters like you can with relievers and pitchers that are struggling. But man, Victor Robles would have given you a better at-bat there. I mean, and listen, Robles might have made an out too. There's no guarantee. JP's got to be better. Cal's got to be better. But that was truly just, like I said, that at-bat, if they DFA him tomorrow, I have no problem with it. And I know I've said that, but I've kind of been like, well, I kind of get them trying to get something out of Polanco. I can't anymore. It's just been so bad. And you're in a pennant race. You can't afford it. You can't afford to have someone that bad taking at bats. I get Polanco's had a great career. I get it. I do. I totally do. I don't understand. I don't know why he is this bad. But, and honestly, to the point of even though how bad Rojas has been against lefties, I think Rojas would have given you a better at-bat. And maybe at least move the runner over. Well, there's one out, so moving the runner over wouldn't have done much. But at least something better than what Polanco gave you. That was terrible. And, I'll be critical of Scott for that. Now, I get it. There's not a lot of options on the bench, especially, like I said, after the Julio injury. But you can't anymore with Polanco. It's just, it's time. It's just not working. It's not working, and he's now costing you in these situations. Do I think Victor Robles would have gotten a hit there? Good chance he probably doesn't. But he's a better hitter right now than Polanco. Now, of course, after I do this, Polanco's going to play tomorrow and go 4. 4 should be great. Hope it happens. I do. Would love it. Would absolutely love it. Jorge Polanco being good is great because that helps this baseball team right here win more games. But it's just not happening. And then, like I said, JP and Cal are atrocious there too. Now, listen, despite all that, I think Scott making a poor choice and putting Polanco up in that spot, the Mariners lost this game because Rodriguez shut them out for 6 innings. End of discussion. That is it. Polanco's at bat was atrocious. It's not what cost them the baseball game. Those first 6 innings were. You cannot have more mediocre back-end starters continue to shut you down. You can't. It cannot happen. What was the last starting pitcher the Mariners blasted? Tristan McKenzie in Cleveland? I mean, honestly, McKenzie in Cleveland, who was literally sent down after that. I think Cleveland probably went, oh my God, the Mariners blasted you. Get the heck out of our roster. Whatever spot starter for Miami started game 2, some guy that is probably never going to see the major leagues again after the Mariners blasted him. I mean, since then, nothing really. One of the Rays starters I thought was like iffy against them, I think. I don't remember 100%. And that's been it. I mean, that was the last 2 guys I think that the Mariners have done anything against starting pitching-wise. A guy in Tristan McKenzie who looks absolutely broken. Now listen, hey, again, beggars can't be choosers. We're probably lucky he didn't shut out the Mariners for 7 innings. And then some random Miami Marlins spot starter. Had the Marlins been healthy and Luzardo pitched that series, they might have been swept. Cannot continue to let these back-end starters beat you. And Toronto's been scuffling. They are scuffling. Their bullpen is hurt, banged up, not playing well. Their offense is underperformed. They've got a couple decent starting pitchers, but for the most part, they're banged up and hurt, not playing well either. You've got to take advantage. You've got to. Now, Toronto can sit there and say the same thing. They probably could have gotten more off Emerson Hancock, but they did enough. They found enough holes in the gaps. They found enough bloops to fall in, got a couple big hits, and they win the baseball game. So, I can excuse a lot more when you find a way to win. It's a lot harder to do it on losses. Win tomorrow, win a series. I will always take a series win. Mariners have not won a series since Texas. So it's been closing in on a month. So it'd be very nice to see them win a game tomorrow and get one series win on this homestand. It's going to be tough. Jose Barrios is really good. Luckily, the Mariners are counted with George Kirby, who is also very good. So, good chance Kirby's going to keep you in this game. But the trend has been for this Mariners team, unless the starting pitcher is pretty much perfect gaming the other team, you haven't won a lot of baseball games. So, and it puts more pressure on the starter. You're sitting there going, man, if I give up 1 or 2 runs, I may not win this game. And you probably don't have Julio Rodriguez tomorrow. I get it. I know he hasn't been great this year, but I can tell you the alternatives are not going to be a whole heck of a lot better. Because if they were better, they'd be playing. So we'll see what ends up happening. But frustrating game, frustrating day. Good to see the team rally late. That was encouraging. But even there with the rally, they probably should have done more and scored more. It's frustrating. Luke Raley with the big home run. Nice game for him. Or at least nice series. Had the big double yesterday, a home run today. That thing was crushed. 113 off the bat. A home run in every ballpark in baseball. So Luke Raley's been good. That has been a really, really solid find for the Seattle Mariners. He's someone that stepped up and played. The rest of them, I could go on for all of them. I don't have the time to do it. Let's hopefully talk about a series win tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. As always, I appreciate all your support. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners. Win tomorrow, win the series. Peace.